And welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's off to a fabulous start to their day today, wherever you may be. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you? What's going on?
Good. Happy Tuesday. How's everybody doing?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It does feel like Tuesday, except we don't work
Weird.
tomorrow. So
Very weird. Very weird.
very, very strange.
We'll take it, though.
Hey, I'm here for it. Keyser, how we doing? What's going on?
Hey, doing good, guys. Joe, nice of us to join you to class, huh? Jumping in a little late there, huh? Coming in hot.
I've noticed Joe is kind of like Willie Donick. Like Willie Donick's got this knack.
I don't
for
know.
like walking through the door about 11 seconds before their show begins.
I think
and
Donick
gets
is a
there.
little
amazing.
later.
And I think Joe logged on about 10 seconds before the show started.
Good
today.
job, Joe.
It's pretty incredible. They like those two have gotten it down to a science.
Yeah, it was a little tight today. And I think yesterday it was well early, but that was also a weird day because I couldn't drive my car. So, but you're right. I do push it a little bit sometimes.
Well, I
But
mean, it's after the pre-show meeting, so you'd already put in some
Izzo
time.
would be very mad.
No, he's already put in some time. He's good.
Well, exactly. I mean, after we've rehearsed every word we're going to say, sometimes I need to just like rest my brain for a minute so I don't forget anything. So, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. We might need to push it back another hour. And then that way, like, there's no, then there'd be no chance of messing anything up.
Yeah, I will say that, like, Willie in particular has gotten it down to it's just an art.
It's
with
amazing.
him.
I
Like,
know.
their show starts at 11. Willie's walking through the door at 10:59:44 and is in his chair by the time that thing goes on, and he's ready to go at 11 o'clock. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Willie doesn't need no pre-show meeting.
He doesn't. No, he does not. We got a lot to get into on the program today. Stilly will be with us at 7 o'clock. I know Joe's missed him, so the first edition of Stilly on our program in 2025, that will be at 7 o'clock today. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, will be with us at 8. I would say we'll break down the Titans and the Texans. We might do that. I don't know what that's going to look like, Joe. I mean, this thing's mercifully almost over.
I think we should break down every single individual matchups. One football game left. There is not another professional football game that counts in this town.
Yeah.
For 9 months.
Some could say this is the most important football game around here for a while in this town. So we'll see how that goes coming up on Sunday.
Better savor it.
And by the way, Pigskin Pick'em at 8:30. The competition has tightened up, pun intended.
Yes.
I just did the standings update, Joe, and I'm just saying that someone is within 1 point of someone else for first place. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the program. So lots to come on the show today. We begin with the Sugar Bowl last night. Notre Dame, a 23-10 winner against the Georgia Bulldogs, which means, Joe, that all 4 teams that got the bye in the first round have now been eliminated from the college football playoff. The SEC has 1 team remaining with the Texas Longhorns. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, and Texas, your final 4 in the college football playoff. And Joe, in like actual game time, so not like elapsed actual human time, but game time, it was about a minute last night where Notre Dame did most of their scoring. They had, the score late at the half, and then they brought back the kick to begin the second half. And that was pretty much the story of the game last night for Notre Dame. They win 23-10. They shut down Gunnar Stockton and the Georgia offense. What'd you make of that one yesterday?
Yeah, Notre Dame's a legit, very good defensive team. If you're Georgia, you cannot give up the special teams, but you also can't get schooled like Kirby Smart did at the end of the game. Critical, a really good move from Marcus Freeman, bringing his punt team out, then mass subbing the offense back on the field. So Georgia mass subs its defense back on the field. They're allowed to do that. But then they just freaked out and jumped off sides. Now there was a little twitch from a Notre Dame receiver too, by the way. But the officials kind of screwed that up. But it was a really good move by Freeman, and I mean he got the better of Smart on that one.
Kirby Smart very upset about that, by the way.
Yes, but Gunnar Stockton, first of all, I think you can see the talent with him for sure. I mean, he's got a big, I mean, I can see him being really good at some point, but not ready for this game yesterday. So like you said, the 4 buys, and this is a correct usage of the word buy, by the way, everybody.
It's one of
the
two.
4 buys, 4 buys all come up short. So I know there'll probably be a lot of talk. Well, 2 things. One, that we've been talking about it, you got to seed the field correctly. So I think that'll start next year. The automatic buy, for a conference champ, I think should be over. But also, I think there's different situations. You get the hurt quarterback with this. I mean, Penn State's better than Boise State. Texas, Arizona State was an insane game, and Ohio State is just the way they're playing right now. I don't care if they have a bye, no bye, home, road, new, doesn't matter. They're just insanely loaded, and now they've got everything working for them. So it's just, I'd still take, as a football coach, like, I don't think this is one of those like, oh, rust because you sat out. I think sometimes that happens like in the NBA playoffs or something. If you sit forever, and then I think I would still take a game of not having my team battered. It's just how it worked out this year.
2 things to look back on this college football season that become more and more mystifying with each passing day. Number one, how did this Ohio State team lose to this Michigan team? I mean, would you watch them play the last 2 weeks in the college football playoff? It really is like mind-boggling how that could be the case. And then equally as mind-boggling, how in the world did Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame earlier this year? Like, I watched that Notre Dame team last night, and I'm like, how did they possibly allow this to happen earlier in the year? It's mystifying to me.
Yeah, no, great point. And that's still the biggest upset of the year. And at that time, you thought they were basically hosed. But that is college football too. And I tell you what, the Michigan game, I mean, Chip Kelly must have just like, did he not come to work that day? I mean, the crazy thing about that is, like, I mean, they've had some ups and downs this year. They've had a couple like kind of lulls offensively, but for the most part, they've been throwing it around the yard. Got great receivers, and then on that day they just said, no, you know what? Let's just go ahead, just run into a brick wall all day. Yeah. Let's just play tough, 3 yards in a cloud of dust football. No, do what you do well and beat them by 3 touchdowns. What are you talking? It's insane the way that they played that game. But Chip Kelly's learned his lesson, because since then he's like, you know what? I think I'll just throw to number 4 and see how that works out for me.
Yeah, it's working out pretty well for them right now. So Texas, the lone team remaining in the SEC in the Final Four here, and they won basically by the skin of their teeth against Arizona State. They were, 4th down away from losing that game. Then, to their credit, they were able to score on that play and then score the very next play in overtime to beat Arizona State. But you got Texas, the lone representative of the SEC. Joe, we've talked about this a little bit. It's not gone overly well for the SEC in both the playoff and the bowl games so far this year. And there's obviously a lot of yelling and screaming about the SEC heading into the college football playoff and how many teams they should have gotten in. What do you make of all this? What do you make of how this is all played out and what this means for the current state of the SEC?
I mean, what I make of it is every postseason is different, and a postseason does not again, serve as a referendum on like a season or really even a league, but everybody wants to make it do that, right? So I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I will go back to people screaming about Indiana when Notre Dame kicked their butt, and they shouldn't have been in. It's like, well, they were going to get in, man. They were 11-1, and they beat the crap out of everybody they played, and they were going to get in. Okay, so do I look at this now and say, see, I mean, I know there are people on Twitter like, Indiana was closer than all these other teams they were closer than Georgia. They were closer than Tennessee at Ohio State. I mean, I will tell you, Robbie, if Indiana and Tennessee played, I think it'd be a great game. That's what I think. But hypothetical football is all we're doing here. The bottom line is SEC is still the best league. I mean, there's no question in my mind. The SEC is the best league. They have the best quality program, the most quality programs. I do think, at least in this season, and I'm not ready to sit here and say this is how it's going to be, but in this season, we obviously don't have an SEC team that's just an absolute monolith, right? A Goliath. And usually we do. I think that team this year is Ohio State. We'll see if they fulfill that. But there's not a great team in the SEC this year. There's a lot of good. It's still the best league. So, there's people are going to go overboard the other way with this. But also, I think like the Fine Bombs and even the Herb Streets deserve a little bit of criticism because I do think there's a little bit of they must be better, right? They're in the SEC. Well, I don't know. I mean, I watched Illinois and South Carolina play. It's a pretty equal matchup. They're both good teams. So I don't know. My take is pretty wishy-washy, but it's somewhere in between. I don't think any differently of like what the league is. It's better than the Big Ten. It has way more quality programs. Just this is one of those years where you don't have a great team. The question I have, Robbie, is that what we're going to see more and more now because of less depth around and things like that? I still think you're going to have super teams that come out of this league in years to come, probably.
Can I give a quick shout out to Juice Wells of Ole Miss, who scored a touchdown last night and then promptly made fun of Shane Beamer in his touchdown celebration by acting like he was getting held back by the rest of his team. It was awesome. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen, and I'm a Juice Wells fan forever now.
Dude, I totally missed this.
Oh, I'll send it to you. It's incredible.
Please send it to me.
Obviously he used to play for Shane Beamer at South Carolina, then transferred to Ole Miss. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen, and one of the great things in the history of college football.
Oh, that's fantastic. Also, yeah, they went and beat the crap out of South Carolina on the road this year.
Yes, they did. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Joe has an interesting idea as it relates to college football, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. Take your thoughts as well, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Friday morning, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talking some college football, the Final Four set in the college football playoff. Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, the final four teams remaining in the college football playoff. We'll take your thoughts on that. Rexrode has an idea that I think could be interesting in the world of college football as it relates to when the season starts. Joe, what do you have for us?
Well, and I can't claim that it's my original idea. I mean, Stuart Mandel has written about this. Other people have too. But I might take it a step further. So I think he's dead on that. Like week 0 needs to become week 1. I mean, shoot. You tell me college football is going to kick off in mid-August. Great. Okay. I mean, I guess the students maybe aren't moved in yet. There's logistical issues there, but I think if you move everything back, what you get is, here's what's going to get weird, Robbie, is so next week now, you get into the next semester and now you have the semifinals next week, Thursday and Friday. And then you go another 11 days until Monday, January 20th for the national title game. And I just think it's crazy to go that far. And I think that if you have, so Stewart's idea is the semifinal, like, yes, January 1 should have been a doubleheader of the semifinals, right? Which I think, and then you move it back to like, basically the next thing coming up is it, which is what it used to be, right? I mean, that's when the national championship used to be. So I like that idea, but how about a little bit more radical idea? Because I saw this week and I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I like that. I came up with the plan. We talked about it. I wrote about The Athletic. Enough of this. Like, quarterfinals need to be at home sites. I strongly believe that. Now, the teams that got these buys should have had home games. The number 1 seed, the only undefeated team, should have had a freaking home game. I know they had a bye, but they should have had a home game. So my idea was, okay, semifinals, then the bowls. You can still have the bowls involved in the semis and the title game. Instead of shopping it around like the Super Bowl, you have one of the bowls as the title game. But I saw this weekend, and I kind of agree. The Rose Bowl should be the championship game. I mean, the Rose Bowl in the history, if we're going to talk tradition of college football, and this goes well before it became a Big Ten Pac-8, tradition in the 40s. Well, before that, I mean, in fact, before that became that, I think Tennessee played in that thing, like right before that became a tradition. And the Rose Bowl was always, that was the bowl game. That was the thing. It's the greatest setting in sports, at least on the mainland here. So can we change the calendar and the season and the sport so that on January 1st, the same time, 2:00 local, so you get that sunset in the fourth quarter, that we had the national championship game in the Rose Bowl. Now that's changing things, right? Like, that's certainly getting rid of the conference championship games, right?
Yeah.
It might be getting rid of a game. So I understand a lot of people are like, but of course, as Paul Koharski would chime in, a lot of people would, especially who aren't big college football fans. Great. You get rid of a crappy game? Yes, let's do that, and get it to where the calendar actually makes sense. I mean, you could, again, you could start a tournament, the weekend, the week of where you have championship games. So let's say that's like December 2nd, and we're going to get to 16, right? And we know we're going to get to 16. So, okay. So like whatever it is, December 2nd. Okay, there's your 16. December 9th is your 8. December 16th is your 4. Thank you. And then or whatever. I mean, you actually have more flexibility than that. You can go a week later if you need to, and get it to January 1 for the Rose Bowl championship every year. I kind of like. Now, do TV people like the idea of their championship being, at 6 or 5 Eastern? I don't know, but the Super Bowl is always at 6 Eastern, right? This is like 6:18 Eastern on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So
I reject this out of hand.
Okay.
I reject it out of hand mainly for selfish reasons. The national championship game needs to be in our city one day. Screw the Rose Bowl. Needs to be here one day. So I reject it
Yeah.
out of hand for no other reason than that.
Well, that's the thing. Any of my plans blow that up for sure. And you know what, if they're going to keep doing this, which I think they want to, even though like Nick Saban has said he hates it, then I think we absolutely will get it. So, you know, it's just I mean, it's probably too much. But the thing about the Rose Bowl somehow through all of these changes has still maintained, you know, having the January 1 thing and all that stuff. I mean,
don't we kind of have to tell them to pound sand at some point though? Like they're going to have to be a little bit more flexible.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I don't. Well, the thing. I mean, look. I mean, they're going to. I'm trying to think here. So obviously this year they have this, but I mean, the way it works out. When they get the semis, I mean, they're not getting. I mean, they're going to be at a weird day. You know what I mean? So they're already about to change the tradition. So they finally did bend on that. They had to. You know, you want to be a part of this. You're gonna at some point you're gonna be on a Thursday night, man. Like, you know, sorry, but I will say, man, you know, the San Gabriel Mountains, the sun. You know,
it's real. It's very nice.
Two teams playing for a national championship. I mean, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of nice. Just the thought, but I do think whatever it is, that the calendar moving up makes sense, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah,
we certainly can do week 0 as week 1.
Like that I think can be a minimum, right? Like week 0 can be, because I will say, as somebody who loves college football, you know, I'll watch any college football by the time that week 0 comes around. But usually, and this year was really not an exception, usually you get to it and you're like, oh, good, it's college football, but it's not really college football. There's like 6 games. But yeah, we need to week 0 can become week 1. I think that's the minimum of what you can do to move this thing up.
Yeah, and then you go week nothing before becomes week 0, and you can have those games. Yeah, you know. So
if you're Hawaii and you want to get a head start on everybody else, you could start in late July if you want to. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I'll watch the game. Hey, I got a texter who says, "Can we just have Joe lead the committee?" Preach.
Wow.
Hey, man, I'll put my name in. I mean, people are talking about this college football commissioner, and Nick Saban doesn't want to do it. I guess he feels bad about cheating at Alabama. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't want to do it. So
he's focused on integrity.
Their cheating is that the guys went to the NFL.
Yes.
That's how they cheated.
Yes. Joe Rexrode and Alabama Jones leading the way for the future of college football here. I'm here for it. I think we might be on to something.
No, so Greg Sankey yesterday was available, you know, at the Sugar Bowl, and he I think the quote it was like, absolutely he wants changes you know, for next year. And of course, you know, again, everybody agrees in the seating, right? Like that one's easy and it's going to happen. I'll be shocked if it doesn't.
I would think so.
And if you look at the bracket, like what it would have been with the correct, you know, with the seeding rather than just the auto buys, it would have been, I think we would have had more good games, you know. And like, you know, again, this field, like Indiana, Boise State, good, you know, SMU. I mean, look, I shouldn't pick on Arizona State. They should have beat Texas, but still, you'd have had better games. That will happen. I will throw the biggest tantrum in the history of tantrums if these freaking crybaby Big Ten SEC people seriously try to get 4 automatic bids for themselves in the future.
Oh, they're going to try.
It's so weak. They need to be called out for being. So you have that little confidence in yourself that you think you have to stack the deck in your favor. Get out there and compete, you freaking soft ass crybabies. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Seriously. Oh, well, we have more money and we're more popular, so we get 4, they get 4. Okay, thanks. Oh, screw that. Get out there and compete. I mean, the preseason rankings already influence everything, and they again, I think the SEC is the best league, but they influence everything, and they make people at times think the SEC is better than it is. This year was a great example of that. You're going to seriously tell me you need 4 automatic bids? That is absolute crap, and it cannot be allowed to happen.
We could have seen Jalen Milroe in there slinging it around in the college football playoff, man. What are you talking about? By the way, he's going to the NFL, so good for him.
I don't get it, man.
I don't either. I think he's getting bad advice from someone. But who knows? Look, man, I thought Anthony Richardson was crazy for going to the NFL, and then he got drafted 4th overall, so who knows?
Yeah, but that's not going to happen to Jalen Milroe. He's not going before if he goes before the third round, I'll be shocked out of my mind.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Yesterday, we talked about the setting of what it could be like on Sunday at Nissan Stadium. So we're throwing the question out there. Is this actually the low point in the history of the Titans franchise? We'll take your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Friday morning, taking your thoughts on the Titans. Joe, real quickly before we do get into the Titans, New York Jets interviewing Mike Vrabel today at their facility. So see what that looks like if I'm Vrabel. I don't know how much interest I've got in the New York Jets, but good on him for taking the interview, and we'll see what that ends up looking like. I'm like a quarter of the way through a piece on The Athletic by Zach Rosenblatt inside Vrabel's gap year and kind of going through some of the stuff after the firing with Vrabel. So I'm sure there's going to be very interesting. It starts with an anecdote of Vrabel at the corner pub here in town. So good stuff.
Yeah. He was a regular. He may still be. I don't know.
Yeah.
As he drives there and listens to our show. Interesting. I'll have to check that out. It's cool of the Browns to let Vrabel out to go. By the way, have we talked about the fact that, and who the heck reported this? I hate when I do this because I like to give credit. Somebody did that. Vrabel was the de facto offensive line coach for the Browns this year.
I did not see that. No,
this was in a. God, was it? It actually might have been us. It might have been the Athletic, or it might have been SI. It was like, yeah. I mean, it was somebody who I think either covers the team or covers the league. I'm doing a great job here. It's very true. Like, in fact, I'll Google it and I'll find it. But yeah, like it was just written like casually. Basically the offensive line coach this year. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they lost their offensive line coach to Nashville. I mean, I know they hired an offensive line coach, so I don't know. Like, did he race Jameis Winston so well pregame? They're like, you know what? Let's have him work on protecting Jameis Winston. I don't know. Very weird, but
very natural transition from Bill Callahan to Mike Vrabel.
Hey, he knows offensive line coaches. That Jason Hodling blew him away with that interview.
It's true. It's true.
But the Vrabel thing, I think the Bears thing is going to get interesting. There's a few things to get to today with some reporting from Albert Breer, including on the Titans. But one of the things that he reported that is interesting is, the Jaguars as a possible better fit for Ben Johnson, Lions OC, than the Bears. If that's the case, and in part because it's a total clean sweep, the new GM, he does have Trevor Lawrence. I mean, are you more excited about Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams? I would say Caleb Williams, but I also don't know Caleb Williams is going to be great, right?
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then I think Vrabel would clearly, I think, be the Bears' top choice. And also, the Ohio State job is pretty much not going to be his now because Ryan Day is messing around and winning a national championship.
He might do that. I do want to read one as I'm kind of sifting through this story here at The Athletic. I do want to read one quote that Vrabel's got because he's talking about how he was interviewing for some jobs last offseason and he felt like he never really had a shot for the Falcons job and was not especially interested in coaching the Carolina Panthers. But Zach Rosenblatt points out that a persistent line of questioning kept coming up through the interviews on a perception that he doesn't collaborate well with owners and general managers. Wonder where that came from. Here was the quote that Vrabel had on that. Quote, I care about the team. No job is too small for me or anybody else to help the team win. I feel like I can work with anybody. I feel like winning is the ultimate goal, and I, just like our team, have got to be willing to adjust and adapt to things that are going on. But I believe that I can respectfully disagree, have a conversation, and move on and get past it. I'm also not afraid to share my opinion and what I believe in, my convictions about things that relate to helping a football team win, building a team, or helping players, helping scouts. I love when coaches and scouts get together post-draft. I love collaborating with general manager on game day. I love I tried to incorporate that system in Tennessee because it's something that I embraced and loved about what we did in Houston. It's a unique relationship, referring to the coach and GM, one that has to remain respectful at all times. I think that it always was. Are we going to disagree? Yep. I hope that we do so that we can grow. But ultimately, somebody's got to be in charge. That was Vrabel's quote there.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. What is he referring to? I'm skimming it now and I'm seeing the quote. I was born for bars like this about the corner pub.
Big corner pub guy, but Mike Vrabel.
Oh man, that's awesome. That very, very interesting. It's like carefully sort of answering, right?
Yeah.
Sort of answering what happened, but also still being careful about it. So
I'm very interested to see where he ends up. He's going to get a job. Like I'd be stunned if he doesn't get a job this cycle. I'm very interested to see where that's going to be.
Yeah, the Jets. I'm with you. Like, man, of course you interview. You don't turn down an interview. Clearly he liked the Chargers gig, and I can't knock the Chargers for going with Harbaugh. I mean,
Sure.
It's worked out quite well for them. I think things have changed in his favor a lot. I think in terms of, well, first of all, I think the Titans and what they've done since he left doesn't hurt him, right? I mean, it's kind of like, well, look at the stuff he said when he was there. Look at the performance of the Titans. Maybe he was onto something. I mean, he was winning when he was there, and then he wasn't. But, he seemed to have a pretty good feel for, like, the owner making some questionable decisions. And then also, as we've talked about, I think the just the culture, big guy, Dan Campbell stuff helps him too, And now we can have now that if he's a head coach again, the Vrabel Dan Campbell showdown would be just epic.
Yeah, I need it. I mean, it's going to be awesome. He did say a quote later in this thing. I've only had 3 jobs in my life. I caddied and carried golf bags in high school. I played football and I coached football. I'm not cut out to do much more. That's the quote from Mike Vrabel. I do miss that guy.
Yeah.
At times.
We do. Well, I'm sure he'll come back on the show.
I'm sure he will. He said that he probably wouldn't, but I think that as time goes on, that'll heal up a little bit here. It's just like NWI. We'll get NWI back on the show too.
Maybe we'll get them both at the same time. But yeah, my prediction is the Bears. I'm going to predict the Bears, and that'll be interesting for Vrabel because he didn't always love all the media stuff. There's a lot more people covering the Bears than cover the Titans.
The nice Mike Vrabel versus Matt LaFleur wrestling match that we could look forward to.
Well, then you get the actual rivalry of the Bears line. Oh, yeah. Man, it's great. Yeah, they could all just throw LaFleur in a trash can.
Thanks,
LaFleur
Matt.
and O'Connell, just put them in the trash can, little nerds. Yeah.
Good stuff. We'll keep you updated on the latest with Mike Vrabel, but apparently interviewing with the New York Jets today. So good luck to him. And I wonder if Woody Johnson's sons and grandsons and whoever will be in there and conducting an interview at that time. Should be good stuff at that point. Here's a game ball, Mike.
Tell them you like Johnson & Johnson products, Mike.
So the game on Sunday, Titans and Texans. I'm looking now. You can still get in for about $5. So if you're interested in that, look at it. Coming up this weekend, there'll probably be a lot of seats to choose from if you want to go. The weather could be a doozy. Could be a little bit of precipitation in the low 40s. So just setting up to be an ideal day for football at Nissan Stadium. A lot on the line in terms of the draft pick. We went over that yesterday. If you lose, you're finishing no worse than 2nd overall. If you win, you could finish as low as 7th overall in the draft. So that's the most important thing on Sunday, at least in my opinion, as it relates to this game. Question is this the low point of the Titans franchise? They're 3-13. They're in the mix for the number 1 overall pick. It's been an abysmal season filled with losing. And Joe, for a lot of the season, filled with really non-competitive football. They've not been a very competitive football team throughout the year. This is certainly not the only stretch in Titans history where they've been a bad football team. But I'll toss it to you. Are we looking right now as we sit here today on the low point of the Tennessee Titans franchise since they've been in Nashville, Tennessee?
Okay, so that you just clarified the thing that's important to clarify. Because if you're going to do the entire, franchise history, I know that they certainly had a stretch in the early 80s, kind of after Bud Adams fired Bum Phillips, where they bottomed out and they were picking first. And what they did was they picked like Hall of Fame offensive linemen and built up from there, and had a lot of really good teams there in the late 80s, early 90s. I think yes. The only thing that I have to just raise my hand and confess ignorance on is more the 20 years ago time frame where Floyd had to gut everything because of the cap.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, where do you go from here? You're getting into the end of Steve McNair, the whole thing with the training facility. You know what I mean? That seemed to be pretty rough too. But I think that if you compare this to 10 years ago, first of all, you're going into a draft where you actually really want. I know now we can look at it and say, well, Winston, Mariota, whatever, but as prospects, they were much different than like this year's quarterbacks, for example, the way they perceived, which again tells you how hard it is to actually find a franchise quarterback. But there was excitement because you knew you were going to get one of them, right?
No doubt.
And then in 15, when you finish out the 5-27 and 2 year stretch, you still had him, and you felt pretty good. It was an up and down rookie year. Wasn't great, but certainly.
Well, you'd gotten rid of Wisenhunt, and everybody felt great about it.
You got rid of Wisenhunt, and you felt like you had something with this rookie quarterback. That's so different than now. Now, there were still questions that Mularkey answered in 2016 about Mularkey being the choice, right?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, like that was – now the problem is, like, it's just, again, what's the hope? And to me, it's either way. I mean, I think everybody's coming back, but if you fired him, it'd be the same thing. Like, this owner has absolutely no clue. How could you possibly be confident? And people are going to be upset when this season ends and she doesn't fire the principal characters here. That they're going to be upset about that too, right?
Yeah.
But either way, like, how do you find hope and excitement? I mean, I think that's the problem right now. You know, front office, coach, quarterback. You know, every team, to me, that's what you do. You look at those three elements, and that probably tells you the story. Well, and then, of course, ownership. But if you take ownership out of it, you know, those three things, it's just completely in flux. And, you know, again, I think some people, I have a more optimistic view of Brian Callahan than some people do. But I don't blame anybody for having serious questions about him right now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's I think a lot of this is going to depend on just what your viewpoint is. Like, you know, 2014, they lost 10 games in a row to end the season. And one of those, I'm pulling up the box score of it right now. I've talked about it before here on the show, was the Zach Mettenberger / Jake Locker combo game in Houston, right, where I think JJ Watt may have set an NFL sack record in that game. Like, it was just unbelievable. What he had 7 quarterback hits by himself in that game. I'm looking at it right now. He hit the quarterback 7 times and ended up with 2 sacks. It's Vitek. I mean, it's unbelievable. The only reason I still know his name is what happened to him that day there. 7 quarterback hits by JJ Watt in one game. So, but to your point, when they were bad then, you looked ahead to the draft and you said, all right, there's Winston and Mariota. When they were bad in 2005, you could look at the draft and you could say, well, there's Vince Young, there's Matt Leinart. I mean, heck, if Reggie Bush falls, you can go Reggie Bush. Like, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. You can do that now if you want to with the Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, but there's no doubt to me in terms of purely what the prospect part of this is. And I don't know what their NFL careers are going to look like, but Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are certainly not Winston Mariota as prospects, and they're certainly not Vince Young. I mean, it's a little bit of a different situation looking ahead that way.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's like you can always look back, and if you weren't there at the time, you can be like, well, why is that a big deal? But Vince Young, man, Vince Young coming out of college, Vince Young, what he did in that, probably and by the way, there's a Rose Bowl that will always be remembered, but that Rose Bowl championship against USC, I mean, absolutely unbelievable. And I was like, oh, this guy's going to be the next star. And even really, I still kind of thought that after his rookie year. He's rookie of the year. So, yeah, that's the thing. You got hope. And now now I think part of why this is the low point is, I guess, Shedeur, Cam, maybe. You know, it's just not like, where is the hope? And that's where I think it makes it the lowest point.
Is this the lowest point in Titans history as we sit here looking ahead to the game on Sunday against Houston? We'll get more into that next. Jared Stillman will be with us at 7 o'clock. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jared Stillman will join us here in about 10 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on all things Tennessee Titans as they round out the regular season this weekend, taking on the Houston Texans. Throwing it out there, is this the low point in Titans history? Taking your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025. Joe, I think you're dead on. I think with the combination of the losing that has gone on, the lack of confidence in the current regime, which I think is pretty prevalent in this fan base right now, and then the hope moving forward, which I think is the biggest part of this. You know, we just laid it out there. Like when you were bad in 2014, you looked at the quarterback class and you said, Winston, Mariota, sign me up for one of those guys. You know, ultimately it didn't work out with either one of those guys, but that's a different conversation than what it was looking like then and the type of prospects that those guys were. Back in 2005 when they were bad, you ended up, I mean, look, I know it didn't work out well for a lot of those quarterbacks either, right? But remember that quarterback class, like Vince Young. A lot of people thought Matt Leinart could be a pretty good NFL quarterback. Jay Cutler could be an NFL quarterback. Like there was, I think, a lot more meat on the bone as prospects with those quarterback classes than there appears to be with this one.
Leinart is one of the all-time disappointments.
Yeah.
I mean, most people thought he was going to be great, you know, and it just didn't work out at all. So, yeah, no question. Again, perception going into the draft, and it may turn out that Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders both are great. And so we'll look back and it'll be, you know, but you're talking about at this point, we're looking at the draft and how these prospects are viewed. And if you put yourself in the exact same time frame going into those drafts, then it's very different. So it's just, again, where are you excited about? I mean, you're hoping, you know, front office. I mean, if the front office gets next year, which we think they will, okay, well, can they turn it around? Do people have confidence in them? You know, the quarterback thing is completely up in the air. There's no great answer. There is the potential to draft one of these guys if you lose Sunday.
Yep.
and then obviously coach. Speaking of coach, Albert Breer wrote about the coaching carousel stuff today at SI.com. He did talk about he had a little segment here. He written about how when Callahan was in the offices and the Titans knew that, you know, the Titans wouldn't let him leave the door. We knew this. We've heard this story before, right? They knew he was about to go talk to the Falcons and the Panthers. So it said, quote, Tennessee zeroed in on the former Bengals OC pretty quickly, almost too quickly, as some other coaches who interviewed felt at the time. 3-13 season later, we've reached a point where it's important to point out one thing: the Titans are about to construct their new stadium. And that with that comes immense pressure for a team to sell tickets, have the kind of known identity people will subscribe to. This was absolutely the case during the gritty John Robinson, Mike Vrabel era, but Callahan may be facing an incredibly difficult situation ahead. Needing to drastically improve a roster has been done little to no favor so far during the Rand Carthon era. And he says Carthon also could be feeling heat. But again, we're talking about feeling heat going into next year, right? Like we're not talking about the heat that brings pink slips on Black Monday.
I think
right.
That's what
I mean, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, if they lose to the Texans, that may be it. How dare you lose to the Houston Texans? You're all fired.
Joe, before we get to Stilly, I keep sifting through this Vrabel article, and I do want to come up with one more quote here from old Mike Vrabel.
Okay.
When talking about what he's kind of looking for in his next stop here. Quote, there's got to be clear communication with ownership so that we understand as coaches what the expectations are. That's so we can explain to them what's reasonable, what we can do, what we can probably do, and what we're going to try to do or die trying. I want to have structure in place that people see the game the same way I do from an X's and O's standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, with team building. We would hopefully have that alignment, which is critical. And I'd like to be able to say that there's a quarterback you feel like you can win with, or that there's a path to find the one that you can win with. That's the quote from Mike Vrabel. Starts off with ownership, ends with quarterback.
Let me subtweet Amy Adams Strunk here a few times. What do y'all think?
Unbelievable.
I love it. I love it, Braves.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Jared Stillman will be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on all things Titans heading into this weekend. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. It is a new year, and he's back. We welcome to the program our friend Jared Stillman, who joins us every Friday morning at 7 o'clock. Stilly, Happy New Year. What's going on?
Oh, man, Happy New Year, guys. It's so great to be back on the program with you guys and enjoying 2025, which I hope for all of us around here and the teams that we root for is a little bit better than 2024 was. And I think you all know what I feel. There's some big decisions to be made as far as 2025 is concerned here in the next couple of days.
There are.
And unfortunately, look, I have no idea how it's going to go. I just don't feel like I'm going to be happy at the end of the day, but we'll see.
We will see what happens.
Joe will be happy, but you and I, Robbie.
Yes, bring it back. This is all I want. I want them all back. I want it. Let's go. Go team.
That's right. So, Jared,
can we get the Joe Rexrode daily heat check on Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker? Or are we still Amy should know, or have we moved to this is a disgrace, fire him?
So, in other words, can Joe have the same opinion that I have, or otherwise it's an invalid or wishy-washy opinion? I've said the same. I've not changed, Jared. If I were in charge, again, based on the information I have, which is nowhere near the information Amy Armstrong had, but if I were in charge, I would not fire them.
Okay.
There we go. There's the heat check for
Doesn't mean I want them back. That's not the same as I want them back. Please come back. Should be great. It's a bad situation.
Think that is the same.
We're talking about the
wanting them back. It's kind of binary. Either you want them back or you don't want them back, and you want them back.
No, I don't want them back, Jared. I'm framing this as again the hypothetical of what would you do? Because again, do I want them back? I mean, I want this football team to like be swallowed up by the earth, okay? But it's not going to happen. So, what are you going to do?
Okay, let's say Stillman and Company Capital buys the Titans, $5 billion venture capital, whatever. We buy the Titans, and I put Joe Rexrode in charge of, you're the team czar. You're now in charge of everybody. You just showed up today, and you're in charge. Are you keeping them on, or are you firing them?
Well, no, because since you're the owner, I must really.
No. This is like the Atlanta Braves. The corporate company, Stillman and Company Capital, owns it. Not me, but the Stillman and Company Capital owns it. And you are the man who's in charge the way Terry McGurk is the president of the Atlanta Braves, even they're owned corporately by Liberty Media. Yeah,
I'm going to hire Rick Spielman as GM. I'll hire whoever else retread you think is awesome as assistant GM, and we'll hire Malarkey as head coach. How about that? You happy? Super Bowls incoming per Jared.
No. I actually want you to be serious here. So would you keep them or would you fire them?
Well, okay. So if I came in new and then I would be much more inclined to fire them because I didn't hire them, right? Like but that's the problem with the hypothetical is that if I came in, I want my people. You know what I mean? So I would probably move on. I mean, I would certainly look into it, but if you're going to be in a situation like that, you're going to want your own people, aren't you?
Well, if you were to take over the Denver Broncos,
I'll fire them, Jared.
You wouldn't.
I'll fire them
Sean
for
Payton.
you. I will fire them for you, and I'll make sure it's only on like FaceTime with Burke Nihill too, just to be as disrespectful as possible.
Here's my problem. Well, FaceTime would be a step up from how Hutton said I think it was Hutton said on the radio. It
was just a speakerphone.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm on my rotary phone now. Put me on speaker.
But and I mean this like in all seriousness, as far as should they stay, should they go? Like, this is serious stuff, Joe. Like you're kind of copping out with everything, being like, if I was Amy, Jared, I should know more than I, and I should. And if I, and you go back to, and so now you're copping out with if I came in, I'd want my own people. But again, like if you took over the Denver Broncos today, you're not going to fire Sean Payton because Sean Payton's doing a great job. If you took over the Chiefs, you're not going to fire Andy Reid. So you're using this cop-out as this
true.
Generic, you're always going to want your own people no matter what, which is not always true.
I agree. If they were doing a great job,
Carthon answer.
I'm not copping out. I've told you what I would do. But you're right that if they were doing a great job and you came in, then it would give you pause. There would be no pause I'll tell you that. But based on there's nothing I'm seeing where it's like, oh man. I mean, again, they've drafted okay. I mean, that is a big part of the job. I mean, it's again, look, you want them gone, you want them gone forever.
Okay.
That's fine.
3 starters in 2 drafts.
Yeah, I mean, Jared, look, again, their drafting is so far beyond John Robinson's last 4 drafts. Would you agree with that or no?
No.
Okay.
They've drafted 3 starters in 2 drafts, and they had picks that Robinson never had because Robinson did not have the 7th pick and the 11th pick and, the picks that they've used. Isaiah Wilson was the 28th pick. There's a massive difference between the 7th pick and the 28th pick. And so Robinson drafted. I mean, I hear all this talk. Titan fans are like, all these drafts were awful. And there's a lot of truth to that. But it's not like John Robinson didn't draft any starters in his last drafts. Chig Okonkwo starts. Dylan Radins starts. Elijah Molden, before he got hurt, started for the Chargers.
The second person you listed in defending John Robinson's late drafting is Dylan Radins. I think we can end the conversation now.
Malik Willis has more wins as a quarterback this year.
There you go.
Than Will Levis.
Dylan Radins and Malik Willis are the examples you're pointing to. I mean,
he played great this year.
My point is that everyone's sitting here talking about how bad those drafts were, and they're equaling as many starters as the great drafts that Rand Carthon's put together.
Okay, but again, now you're being hyperbolic. I didn't say great. But again, Traylon Burks at 18, Caleb Farley at 22, Isaiah Wilson at 29. Yeah, I understand. Those are later picks. Those are absolute disaster picks that ruin your franchise. I mean, come on,
but they don't ruin your franchise forever. And that's the problem that I have with kind of this narrative about Robinson ruining everything, because it's like, well, how are the Titans supposed to be any good with those 3 bad picks? And yet Washington made 4 bad picks in a row.
No one's
I know, but
arguing
fans do say this. Don't tell me that no one's arguing this, because I don't know if you've seen the Twitter. Robbie, I'm arguing every day with people that think that they're doing a good job.
Yes, I find it very funny.
So don't say nobody thinks that. I don't understand how they could think it, but people do think it. But again, every excuse I hear for Rand Carthon and the Titans and Chad Brinker is an excuse that I can debunk with another team in the league. When it's like, well, I mean, John Robinson blew all those drafts so poorly that there's no way this team could be any good. And yet the Commanders swung and missed in the first round of 2020, 2021, 2022, and they've already cut Emmanuel Forbes, who they took in the first round of 23. And they're good. Why can't I be Washington? Washington's good. And I go back to Sean Payton, who I brought up. I mean, people will say John Robinson left things so poorly for them. Could it have been worse than when Sean Payton showed up in Denver, where Nathaniel Hackett and this Russell Wilson was terrible? They had traded all the draft picks. They had all the money given to Russell. And here they are 2 years later on the doorsteps of the playoffs, and you're the worst team in the league. So Sean Payton's allowed to get them out of the hole that he inherited, but Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker don't have to get themselves out of the hole that they inherited.
Well, I mean, I hear you on all that stuff. It's been bad. I don't know how anybody could say it's not been bad. I'm with you. I don't know that I really expect anything to happen on Monday, but I've said it, and I'll say it again. Like, I am fully in the camp of clean house, and I just, it's been a absolute train wreck around here all season long. And I feel like you're a good person to ask this question. We were going through this earlier in the show. Is this the low point in Titans history since this team moved to Nashville? Are we living the low point of this franchise right now?
Yeah, I think we probably are. 2014 was so bad. I mean, it was so bad. And that team was probably worse, in terms of talent. But I mean, again, it's right up there with 2014. 2015, I think, was more of a bright spot because Amy Adams Strunk showed that she wasn't going to put up with the bull crap when she fired Whisenhunt in the middle of the year. Remember, I remember the late Mark Howard saying, the Titans are not going to fire a coach with 4 years left on their contract. And I was almost resigned to, oh God, it's going to be awful. And then she fired him. And they had Mariota, who again didn't end up being a franchise quarterback, but at the time had given us all the impression that he could be a franchise quarterback. And I guess maybe it's easier because I know how they got themselves out of that hole. Whereas with this, I don't know how they get out of it. The reason I'll say this is worse than then, even though I would think there's probably more overall talent on this Titans team than on those Titans teams. The reason I'll say it's better is because what that team did after 2014 was they went out and they brought Steve Underwood back in here to run the operation. And Steve Underwood, again, I don't think he's the greatest executive in the history of the NFL. And I don't even know if I'd say Steve Underwood was a good executive in the NFL.
Greatest
but
mustache.
Steve Underwood had a clue when it came to kind of keeping Amy out of Amy's way at times. I think Steve Underwood was the one that could stand up and tell the ownership, like, hey guys, I don't do this. And I don't think she has that now. I think she's got a bunch of yes men around her, because if you become a no man, then they're afraid that she's going to turn on you and fire you. And so I know Amy can be a good owner because between the years of 2015 and 2022, she was a good owner. But I don't know at this point in time if she can go back to what she was in 2015 to 2022, or if the toothpaste is out of the tube and she's going to be the female version of Al Davis. And that scares me.
So it's an interesting point on, she can be a good owner. I agree that she did good things during that time. I guess what I don't know is, I really don't know. Like, okay, take the locker. That was good. She was responsive to fans. Show up and take pictures with fans, stuff like that, right? She was a good front-facing owner, and they were good. They had good people. John Robinson did a great job in the first few years as GM. Malarkey and Vrabel both were good coaches. So I guess my question though would be, how much credit does she get for that? Because she correctly, I think, sees like that Robinson and Vrabel are doing really well, and she wants to lock them up. But then, like, her first significant moves were then what has happened in the last 2 years, right?
I mean, again, I would tell you that by not having a bunch of big moves over that 7-year period, that's being a good owner.
Who would have made moves? That's what I'm saying, though. It's like when things are going well, because
she did fire a coach that won the first playoff game in more than a decade.
Now that was
right.
So that situation was totally screwed up. I almost think, and Joe, you were probably more like boots on the ground covering this than I was. It had gotten so bad between Robinson and Malarkey. I'm not sure there was anything that her Underwood could have done. I think they would have wanted.
Not put out a statement that he was coming back would have been the thing that they could have done.
There's that.
That was inherently dishonest. But again, I mean, that was screwed up. I'm not sure I lay that at the feet of the owner as much as I probably was disappointed in John Robinson for having what I call MGS, my guy syndrome. My guy, my team, my quarterback, my coach, I kind of am a little disappointed at Robinson for that's how that transpired. I don't put that at Amy's feet. Ever since firing Robinson, I lay that at Amy's feet because that was an Amy call. And ever since then, this thing has been a total train wreck, which I was afraid of the day it happened.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I want to throw in this quick thing from Justin Strickland on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHead.com. It says, Jared comparing the woes of the Titans Commanders completely avoids the biggest issue fans have with J-Rob. Yes, the draft picks the first round hurt like hell, but don't forget he traded away potentially the best player on the roster. Washington got their QB and an outstanding wide receiver on the roster. I mean, it is QB, right? I mean, QB has totally changed, and the Commanders had some talent. I mean, over the years, they built up some talent, just like the Texans, right? Both of those teams have been bad, built up some talent, but then you give them the quarterback.
They haven't built up any talent.
All of a sudden, yes, they did, Jared. You're just looking at their first round picks. They've had talent on defense. They've had talent at receiver. That's incorrect. But they got the quarterback. They got the coach.
Building up
right?
talent, they have one impact player, I think, from the last couple of drafts, Sam Cosmi, who's a guard. So before they get to this draft, I want to say Adam Peters went out and signed 20 free agents. I heard Belichick talking about this on the McAfee show yesterday, or whenever he was on the McAfee show. And Belichick was talking about Adam Peters showed up in Washington and said, we're going to turn over the whole team. and that there were, I think, again, 20-something free agents they went out and signed, including leadership guys like Bobby Wagner and Tyler Biadasz, the center, and Nick Allegretti, the guard from the Chiefs. And so they've signed a bunch of guys this offseason to go around the young quarterback. And I'm not saying the young quarterback's not great, because I do think that there's something about this young quarterback that's been good. But I don't think if you put Jaden Daniels in Tennessee right now, that Jaden Daniels is having the performances he's having, because I think he's getting mutilated. I think that is, again, Adam Peters, the general manager in Washington, knows what he's doing, kind of the way John Robinson knew what he was doing when he showed up, and they went from a 3-win team to a 9-win team, not a we checked every box this offseason to the worst team in the league.
Jared Stillman with us on the program, joins us every Friday morning at 7 o'clock. Jared, good to have you back again this year.
I appreciate that. I do not find the Washington comparison to be dishonest. And I do not find the Denver Broncos comparison to be dishonest.
I'm actually with you on Washington.
And I do not find – I hear all these people that keep making excuses. There's so many arguments against bringing this group back. Carthon and Brinker and Callahan, I don't really care about. Like, I'll settle now if she's hell-bent on bringing him back. I'll settle to bring him back and get new people in the front office. I think that's stupid, but I'll settle for it to get rid of Carthon and Brinker, even though, again, I'd hire a GM and let him pick his coach so I don't end up with another malarkey Robinson thing. But the only positive, if you're arguing for them, is, well, it's not all their fault. There's a lot that's their fault. I don't know if you guys have read the latest on L'Jarius Sneed, but that seems fishy. And so it's a lot their fault, but it's not all their fault. Whereas the other side of the coin is they're worse than they were last year by half the amount of wins. They're the worst team in the league. They have no Pro Bowlers. They've drafted 3 starters in 2 years with the 7th pick, the 11th pick. They busted at quarterback. I mean, there's just so many things that are bad about what they did, all the talk they had. And yet the only good thing is, well, it's not completely, totally all of their fault, even though there are other teams in the league that are examples of, hey, get competent people in here, the Chargers, and you'll get good.
We'll react to that coming up next. Thank you, Jared.
Good luck to you, Jared.
Well, take your thoughts on what Jared had to say. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jared Stillman on the program for the first time in 2025. Getting the new year started off with a bang here. Joe Rexrode, what do you make of his Washington Commander, Tennessee Titan turnaround comparison there that he's thrown out there?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard him say it before. I mean, look, I get the idea in general of, well, this team was bad and then they were good. But one thing you got to remember is the Washington Commanders were bad for how many years in a row?
Well, they were bad for, good Lord, they've been bad for like 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, the Houston Texans, they had a stretch of just absolute buns, right? And then, but during that time, I mean, I understand the first round picks of the Commanders didn't go well. The Commanders had some defensive talent. All I'm saying, they had some defensive talent in place. They had some receivers in place that were good, right? I mean, can we all agree on that? And they've had good receivers. Now, he's right. You know,
they were not. He's absolutely right, though. They were not an overly talented team when these guys took over. They had Terry McLaurin, and that's about it.
Yeah. I mean,
they had Montez Sweat, who they then traded.
Yeah, I mean, I can go back through like the entire history of their roster. There's no question that Peters came in and did. I mean, like, I'm not sitting here arguing. One, I'm not arguing these guys have done a good job here. Two, I'm not arguing that Peters didn't go in and do a good job. I guess but you know, it's like, okay, well, that does happen sometimes. But the big thing is that they got the quarterback and they got the coach.
Sure.
And I agree with Jared that, like, if Jaden Daniels was here, he'd be running for his life. Thing about Jaden Daniels, and he actually can run for his life and like escape
Succeed.
and then make plays. Yeah. I mean, I think he's potentially a special player. And, you know, the Texans, it's a little different, but they had built up some decent players. They were a bad team. You bring in D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud, and boom, you know, they're the surprise of the league last year. Yeah. And of course you're going to compare it to John Robinson coming in right away in 2016 and making a bunch of great moves, trades, free agent signings, draft picks, and turning a 5-27 into a 9-7 team that, you know, should have gone to the playoffs. So I get it. Again, I'm not arguing that they're not doing a good job. It's just, I don't know what, I mean, I know Jared wants everybody to, you know, join the chorus. You've joined the chorus. You're on Team Clean House. Plenty of people are. That's fine. I mean, I could lie and join you guys. I'm just not going to. I'm sorry, Jared.
I don't. You can have whatever opinion you want to have. Like, it doesn't bother me. I do. Just somebody's going to have to explain to me beyond just. And I've said this for a month now, and it's not going to change. Somebody's going to have to explain to me good reasons for keeping these guys around, other than, well, you just don't want to fire people. Like, and nobody can explain it. That's where I'm at with this conversation.
I mean, my case for them, and again, when Jared decides that he's on, and you're on his side too, but you don't do what he does, which is he decides he's on his side, he has a take, and so now he's going to spin everything and come up with 3 stars. I mean, look, if Latham turns out as a good player, as a really good player, which I think is possible, that's a good job that they did. I don't care what you say about, where they picked at 7. Great. Go look at the top 10 of the draft every year and find the bust. You'll find them. So is Sweat, I don't know what Sweat's going to be. I think he could be really good. I think he was pretty good this year. Brownlee, we've talked about, you know, again, Cedric Gray is important. Skoronski is important. But the last 2 drafts have objectively been better than the 3 drafts that preceded them by John Robinson. So that would be, if I'm trying to spin it and make the argument for these guys, that's where I start.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that they've been better than what the last couple were there for Robinson. But again, like, you bring up Sweat and Latham and all these, we don't know yet. Like,
true, but we don't know that it's bad yet either. Like, some people like Jared are acting like they've done nothing good. That I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think we don't. You're right. We don't know yet. I mean, next year is gigantic on many fronts, including Snead, of course.
I mean, some of the drafting that they have done, again, Skoronski has improved. So it's fair. Like, we need to point that out. Skoronski has gotten much better as the season has gone on this year. And so maybe he ends up being a serviceable guard for you for a long time. And is that what you want out of the 11th overall pick? no, you want an all-pro guard if you're taking somebody there.
Right.
But
Agree.
at this point, I would live with being Skoronsky being a good player for them moving forward, not being great. Like compared to what we were talking about at the beginning of this season, I would take that. They have busted on a quarterback. Like, I mean,
Yes.
they have busted on a quarterback. And you can talk about how it's not a top 5 pick of a quarterback all you want to. They identified that quarterback to be their franchise quarterback moving forward, and they missed. Vrabel was a part of that. Rand Carthon was a part of that. So you're already
Adam
0
Stunks
for
was a
1.
part of that.
Yeah, like you're 0 for 1 on the quarterback part of this right now too. So, and the rest of the guys, like this year's draft, we just don't know yet. Like Latham, I think can be good. Latham has also struggled a lot this year. Like I don't know what Latham is going to be. Sweat, I think Sweat's going to be a good player. Is Sweat going to be enough of a pass rusher where he's worth taking him where you did? I don't know. Like there's still a lot left to find out about these drafts moving forward here. And in the meantime, you're still trying to evaluate everything else that they've done.
Right. No, I agree. No question. Again, there's nothing that says ding, 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 awesome job. And the public messaging would probably be on the foot to me. But the drafting is the most potential for, it looks like they have done some pretty good evaluations in there. But you got to win. I mean, you have to win, and you've got to stop saying stuff like, man, I got all these texts like they're so mad about the amazing pick I made, and all the coaches we got are so awesome, the best coaches, and we checked every box, and then go out and have the worst record in the league. I couldn't agree more that is ridiculous.
That does not help. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll have more on this coming up next, more of your reaction to get to as well. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up at 7:45. TD will be with us at 8. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Titans, join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, Derek Mason, and John Bon Jovi's in downtown Nashville this Sunday for the pregame show, 9:30 to 11:30. They'll break down the Week 18 matchup against the Texans, give you the latest updates before the game. The pregame show presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. TD will be with us coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll get into all things Titans with him as well. Joe, lots of reaction to this discussion right now as it relates to the Titans, the comparison to the Commanders, where they're at in their rebuilding process here as they move ahead. And, you know, we say all this. I still expect that next week's going to come and go, and the powers that be are going to remain in charge there with the Tennessee Titans. We'll wait and see what happens on that front. But this whole thing, everything we talked about today, Joe, kind of goes back to the same general point, and that is, where is the hope with this franchise right now? Like, where are you digging yourself out of this, regardless of who's in charge? Rand Carthon, Brian Callahan. You know, we had Charles on again yesterday, and he basically just laid it out that nobody's really that high on this quarterback class. He said that there aren't many teams that even have a first-round grade on Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward based on some of the teams that he's talked to. Like, it's a situation right now. I've said this many times in sports. I've said it about hockey, said it about the NFL. Sometimes it not only matters, Joe, when it relates to the draft, that you're bad. It's when you're bad, and it doesn't seem like a great time for the Titans to be bad right now based on the overall level of talent in this draft.
No, but is Travis Hunter a generational player in the NFL? Is Abdul Carter a superstar edge rusher?
Right.
Because, you know, I mean, like, that's, if you get that second pick, then, and you could you get a bunch of picks out of that because someone wants to move up? That's possible. But if you were to take one of those guys and get your veteran quarterback, that could be a huge building block. And honestly, right now, that would be what I would advise. Just knowing the questions about these quarterbacks, that's what I would. I mean, again, yeah, like you said, Charles, these quarterbacks don't have first round grades on them. Okay. And they're going to go 1-2 or 1-3 or whatever it is. It's just how the NFL is. Don't be one of those teams. I mean, you and I and Vingan have been going. Vingan's DVDs chiming in on the show, on the program today. Vingan making the point. Obviously, he's arguing with Jared about the Commanders comparison. And like he said, Daniels is Daniels is the difference maker. As you point out, Levis was picked by these guys. As Charles Robinson reported, the ownership driven was the term. And what exactly that means, I don't know. TD has refuted it. So I mean, it's hazy, but if you're Amy, you know exactly how it went down, right?
Yeah. And
so if you're Amy assessing these guys in terms of why they should be fired or not, and you had a big voice in that, then that's a little different, right? Like, we want to assign it to them, but should it be assigned to them? I don't, of course, Levis is now the guy that everybody is going to say, no, it was the other guy who wanted it. It wasn't me, But that is important to keep in mind when it comes to Levis. I mean, the Levis thing to me was like, oh, wow, that guy's still available. Well, shoot, we got to try, right? I mean, if they loved him, they would have taken him when they took Skoronski.
Yeah, and we talked about that at the time, like in terms of, well, if you really loved him, why didn't you take him where you had Skoronski? Like, I get it. At some point, it becomes like too much of a value pick in your mind where you can't pass it up. But again, you're still talking. I mean, you're talking about the top of the second round. That is a significant draft pick, a very significant draft pick. So, like, it counts. It's an attempt to go get a franchise quarterback that you misidentified. And now you've got a chance to go get another one here if that's the way you choose to do it. But again, like, I'm looking at the quarterback part of this right now. I'm with you. Like, I think Abdul Carter has a chance to be a really good pass rusher at the NFL level. Is Travis Hunter going to be a generational player? Honestly, like Travis Hunter, I mean, you'll take him wherever he wants to play, but like it would be great if he could be like a generational receiver because that's really what this team needs right now. I don't know what he's going to do at the NFL level. He seems to think that he can play both sides of the football at the NFL level. I don't know. Maybe he can. It seems to me to be a pretty difficult thing to ask from somebody at the NFL level.
Yeah.
That would be great if you could do that. Like I would rather take my chances on one of those guys being an elite player and then figuring out the quarterback later. The problem is with this coaching staff and this general manager, figuring out quarterback's going to be a big part of how you get out of this, right? It's going to be a big part of how you save your job. So how do you do that? How do you thread that needle?
Well, you better be able to fix things enough so that if you have a solid game manager veteran, that you can be a decent team that can be in the playoff race in December. And that's the thing. Like in the NFL, like again, Jared uses the Commanders comparison. We've talked about the Texans, talk about the Titans 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
You can go from bad to middling in this league in the snap of a finger, and that is right now for them. There's no excuse. So you find, I mean, Gunner on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, says draft Carter, whoever, roll Levis out there and wait for Manning. Well, first of all, again, they're not. No one's saying, you know what? Let's have another terrible year. We'll keep our jobs. I mean, no one is doing that.
Right.
So that's not happening. And again, I just the whole Manning thing, guys, is like,
let's let him start some games first.
I mean, let's see. Let's see if he's an NFL. I don't know that he's an NFL quarterback. People think he's like the pick one. Like, let's see. I mean, he couldn't start over Quinn Ewers, who's pretty good and probably not an NFL starting quarterback. So we'll see. But yeah, you're not like next year. You cannot quote unquote roll Levis out there. No, you have to get a better quarterback.
Well, here's another thing. What I've been thinking, because again, I'm operating under the assumption that everybody's back next year, or at least the main decision makers are back. How do you evaluate what success looks like next year? Because I've heard some people say, well, show improvement. Well, it ain't that hard to show improvement from 3-14. Like, what is an acceptable level of improvement? 5-12? Like, if they go 5-12 next year, it's like, well,
no.
They're 2 games better than they just were. Bring them back. Like, what's the baseline of what they've got to be next year?
To me, again, in December, like you better be in December with like 7 wins, fighting for a playoff spot, and end up with 8 or 9. That happens in this league all the time, and they've bottomed out this year. If you're incrementally improving from this, then now to me, that's enough of a period of time to demonstrate that you don't know how to build a football team.
Yeah, like I just don't I don't get just show improvement next year. I was like, well, you're gonna have to show significant improvement. Like, you got to get yourself back to a spot where you're competitive. And by the way, a division, as we've talked about all year long, that right now is just not very good. Like, the Texans are okay. They're an okay football team, and they're going to win this division by default because everybody else in this division is just an absolute unmitigated tire fire right now. You've got an opportunity here if you're the Titans, regardless of who's with you right now, to really make some hay here quickly because of the state of the rest of your division, Joe. And I realize, look, I still think C.J. Stroud's a good player. The Texans are going to be the favorite again heading into next year. I get all that. But with everybody else in your division right now, you ought to be able, if you show some competent decision-making, to get yourself out of this relatively quickly.
No doubt. You're gonna have a sweet, get that sweet last place schedule. But now, who's the NFC division next year? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I don't. I can look that up very quickly.
That's it's not the North.
It is not the North, which is going to be good news for them next year.
Which is good.
Not have the
North.
North.
Which is good for everybody.
Although it could potentially rob us of a nice Chicago Bears, Tennessee Titans Rabel matchup. It looks to be the
Super
NFC
Bowl.
West. Looks like it's the NFC West.
Okay.
So San Francisco, Arizona, all those guys.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the Niners are going to be one of those teams that next year that they're going to go like 14-3, right? They're going to get all those guys healthy, but
Aaron
still better
Rodgers
than
is
the
their
North.
quarterback. Yeah, it'll be good.
Cousins.
615-737-1025. Our phone number, the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode, coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
As a psychiatrist, it is my professional opinion that Paul is extremely jealous of Joe. Excellent takes. His envy is blatantly obvious.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'd rather listen to REO Speedwagon fart into an accordion than go to a Creed show. But that's just me.
Joe, you good, man. You good. Do like they do in Hollywood. Joe, go find you somebody from Sweden or something and pay him and give him some Botox. You'll be good, Joe.
Joe Rexrode, a professional wordsmith for a living. It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Joseph, the floor is yours.
It was good to hear Mark from Nashville's voice there.
It was.
Mark from Nashville, call back. I need my life coaching back. Have I? I want to get exactly. Have I? Oh, we're going to get back into the Titans. There's a lot here, and a question I'm going to address on the text line. But have I talked about bakeries yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, real quick. If you at your business, if you have the word bakery as part of the name of your business, and you don't bake bread and things like that, then the Better Business Bureau needs to shut your ass down. If you say that you're a quote bakery and you have like 3 cookies in the place, other than that you sell like coffee and stuff, you're not a freaking bakery. I was trying to find some Kimmelweck buns. Have you ever had a Kimmelweck bun, Robby? Okay, well it's a big, it's Buffalo, Western New York, Western PA. Katie's family's from like that area, Western PA, and it's what we do is we have the standing rib roast, roast beef for Christmas, but then you make it with the buns, with the horseradish, with the au jus dip. Amazing stuff. People, I'm sure somebody's listening knows what I'm talking about. Amazing sandwiches. Kimmelweck. So Buffalo Wild Wings used to be BW3, is what started with Buffalo Wild Wings and Weck. Okay, those buns are ridiculous. So anyway,
A lot of buns.
Going around, those buns were not buns. Okay. And going around town trying to find them, couldn't find them. We basically made do with everything bagels, which is not the same. But I go to this bakery, and it's like, you have like a cookie? You sell a cookie? You're a bakery? Are you kidding me? That needs to stop. That's a societal issue, and it needs to stop right now. Now, on the Titans, I mean, there's just a ton of reaction. You still out of the text line?
Oh yeah, working on it.
Just
Perma-banned from the text line.
You're just banned from the text line.
I'll never speak with any of you ever again.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a question I want to get to. I do want to address this from LD from McMinnville. He says, I want Derek Carr as a bridge and to draft Sanders. Jared says he thinks the Saints are going to bring Carr back. But I've mentioned this possibility. The more I think about it, though, you can't. Someone else in here was like, well, take a flyer on like Milrow, or take a flyer on this guy. You got to stop taking flyers.
I agree.
Okay. You're taking flyers. So you took a flyer. I'm like, Willis. Well, gee, there's a 3rd round pick that could have been a good football player. You took a flyer, I guess, on Will Levis. Well, gee, 2nd round. You got to either pick a quarterback that you were all in on. And if that's one of these guys at the top of the draft, okay. But to me, you have so many needs. You are such a bad football team. You have to get good football players. And I do believe that there's a quarterback who there are veteran quarterbacks who can come in here if you create a good offensive line. Yeah, you want to talk about reason for optimism, Robby? I still would say of all the elements they have, I still would say, I mean, look, because it's only been a year, I would go with the coaching set with Brian Callahan and Bill Callahan as the O-line coach. That's where I would start, right? And with a couple of the players they have. So, they're going to be back, and that's where it has to get way better. And if you have a serviceable quarterback and you actually fix the offensive line and other things, then yes, you can immediately be a middling team, I believe.
You can take a flyer on a quarterback if you've got just an excess of draft picks. Number one, you've got 1,000 holes on your team that you got to fill here. And number two, you don't have a third round pick. Like, so you're already down a third round pick. You can't, like, the idea of going and grabbing a Milrow in like the fourth round, like, you can't do that this year. Like, you need to, first off, I'm with you. You got to get out of doing that anyway at the quarterback position. But there's just so much else you've got to do with this team right now. It would be a great year to have like 4 third round picks, right? And you don't have any. So, like, it's you can't take a flyer on really anybody this year. Like, you got to identify the players that you love and go get them each round. Like, you get, this is if there was ever a year where they needed to hit on a draft, this one is right near the top.
Absolutely. And you may have a chance to get more picks. That may be the move if someone's desperate to get into where you are. So a question I got was, can you compare, we always talk draft, can you compare the free agency of the first couple of years of Robinson to Rand Carthon?
Yep.
So that's another thing is, again, I don't want to be known as like, sticking up for the front office that has done a bad job guy. But, so let's talk about Rand Carthon signings. DeAndre Hopkins was a good signing, right?
Agreed.
Was it a good signing?
Yep.
I would call that a good signing. I would call Calvin Ridley, a good signing. Snead was a trade, and that's a huge part of the whole thing. And by the way, as Stillman mentioned, he talked yesterday to reporters and talked about having a surgery for the quad, but it's really weird, and I don't totally understand.
Yeah, it makes you feel great moving forward.
Saying, but he had a surgery.
Yeah.
On the quad, that was a strain. So take that
by the helmet.
That for whatever. Yeah. So you had a woozy again. I think I liked it. I liked the signings. I mean, I got to raise my hand and say I celebrate a lot of these signings. Just like when Barry Trotz did all this, I was like, yeah, it's awesome. And the Lightning are stupid. Like, got a lot of good taste going on over here. So John Robinson, his first year, big one was Ben Jones.
Yep.
Rashard Matthews, really everybody else was like, I mean, it's like Bryce McCain and Valentino Blake and whatever. Second year, Eric Decker, helped. I mean, he helped some, and he was okay that year. Logan Ryan was the big one. Everybody else was kind of like, Sylvester Williams was like, he played.
Well, and bringing up trades, right? Like we talk about the Snead trade. Robinson had a big trade too, bringing in DeMarco Murray, which was a big get for them.
Huge get. You're talking about the best back in the league until he got hurt late in 2016. So, yes, that was a great trade in camp to get rid of DGB and bring in a swing tackle so they actually had depth on the offensive line. So, but as far as free agents, there wasn't much there. But what Robinson did, of course, early was his first draft was fantastic. And then, of course, the 19 draft. Those two drafts were epic drafts, two of the best drafts in Titans history.
Yep, no doubt. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, will be with us coming up next. We'll get into all things Titans with him as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. It is that time of the week. We head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our man, Teron Davenport, to the program. TD, Happy New Year to you and yours. Thanks for taking time to be with us. What's going on, man?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Happy New Year.
Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, TD, we've been talking about kind of the scope of this game all week on Sunday. If you lose, you're guaranteed no worse than second overall in the draft coming up in April. If you win, it could be anywhere down to 7th. What do you make of what's at stake for the Titans on Sunday in this game, and kind of the scope of what the difference could be depending on the outcome there and how that affects this franchise moving forward?
Yeah, there's one of those rare times where it's like you lose by winning. And I'm never one to advocate losing on purpose, but that's something that they definitely need to consider, like at least the front office. I know the players, they're not going to do that, but you look, so you're at 2, you get a chance at Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, or you have the ultimate opportunity, which is to trade back. You look at a team like the Giants, who might be at 4, you get them to flip, you get another first, now you got ammo for next year, and you get Abdul Carter in the meantime. So there's different things you could do. You drop back to 7, you still are in good shape, but just not in as good shape, because now you're looking at, I think Carolina at 6, the way things fall right now, I don't think Carter falls past there. So then you're looking at one of the Georgia edge guys. You're looking at Ted McMillan, Luther Burden, someone in that range. And you're still getting a good player, but I just think that trade down option, that's the key difference to me. And that's why now I'll say, at 2, it's much better than being at 7, just because you want a team that wants to move up to get one of the quarterbacks. And I thought for sure the Giants would be, one of the top teams, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
Hey, it didn't fall that way.
Well, like I said, TD, the players are having no part in tanking. NFL players don't. In fact, NFL players, I think, absolutely love sabotaging draft hopes like the Giants just did against the Colts. What about coaches? And what about this kind of weird, to me, QB thing that they're doing this week? Do you look at that as any sort of tie to the fact that the Titans win by losing?
I mean, you could tie that into it. I don't think Brian Callahan would lose on purpose, especially with how this year went. I don't think he could afford to do that, So I think really it is just one of those things where you're trying to give both guys a chance to play. Now, I don't agree with it. I don't think this sport is one where participation awards should be handed out, right? Everybody gets a chance. I think the bottom line, as Brian Callahan said, they didn't win with Rudolph. And now it's just like, okay, neither one gives you the great chance to win. So they're playing both of them and giving them both one last chance to make a case for themselves.
So, TD, on the L'Jarius Sneed front, like they still need him to be a big part of the answer here moving forward, starting next year when hopefully he's back on the field. Obviously, this year has not gone to plan for him. And, he kind of addressed what's going on with him yesterday with the surgery. What's your level of concern with him now? If you're Rand Carthon, if you're Brian Callahan looking at this, and based on the way that it's gone with his injuries this year and all the chatter about him, kind of ending in Kansas City there and the injury to the knee and all that, how concerned are you about him and his availability moving forward?
Yeah, I think there is reason for concern, but I feel like that surgery is a good starting point, and that, okay, they had a surgery, they had a procedure done. That means they have a pretty good idea of what the problem was. So now you went about the first step to fix it, and then you go about rehab. And he told me he's going to work out in Dallas during the off season. It's someplace he's worked out before, and he'll work to get back. And he said he plans to be back on schedule. But I think there is concern just because it got progressively worse, right? Initially, it was week to week or day to day rather than it was week to week. And, it ballooned into this situation. And it hasn't been stated exactly what it is. That doesn't mean they don't figure out what the problem was. But I think the concern level for me would be down now, just because you do know what it is that you're fighting now. So now you just formulate that fight.
So TD, we've been talking today about, and not just today, but today about low points in this franchise history. Obviously, the last 2 years or 2.5 years have been about as bad as it has gotten for this franchise. Big picture question for you right now. If you had to identify the one thing or the top thing, reasons for optimism for Titans fans, what would you point to?
Wow,
It's a tough one.
There's not a lot. There's not a lot to be excited or optimistic about, and me trying to explain this. Please understand, I'm not making an excuse for anybody, so I want to make that clear. I think the reason for optimism, if anything, would be some of the improvement that they showed throughout the year. Right, special teams got better. It's not fabulous. It's now like average, but it got from, disaster level to average. So that is something. I think looking at the improvement of Chigakonkwo, I think that's something. Calvin Ridley is someone to be optimistic about. Tony Pollard. But, I mean, these are stretches. Like, you're really fine combing it. You know what I mean? To find something. And that's, whenever you're in that situation, that's not good, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to sit here and act like everything is fabulous, because it is extremely the opposite.
TD, I'm interested for your thoughts on this. Everybody's going to focus on quarterback this offseason, and I get it. I mean, we all know how important quarterback is moving forward here. Outside of quarterback, where's your top need on this team right now? Is it offensive line? Is it edge rusher? Like, how do you go about evaluating, like, if it's not going to be quarterback, here's step number one the Titans need to take this offseason?
Do you need me to tell the right tackle story? No, I think, honestly, offensive line and the trenches, we could put it that way. Because, I mean, this team desperately they're not going to have a pass rusher to have double-digit sacks. It's not likely, unless Landry has like 2 or 3 sacks. Unless Arden Key has 2.5 sacks. They're not going to have a double-digit pass rusher. You have to have someone who could finish the deal. And what did Denard Wilson say? The offseason is going to be all about figuring out ways to destroy the line of scrimmage and take down the quarterback. You have to get a guy that could do that. So you have that. And then obviously, the right tackle situation, we don't have to get into it. We know that's been an issue for years now, and it continues to be one. So they're going to have to figure out a way to address that. I think quietly, very quietly, safety is a position that they have to look at as well. You get a ball hawking safety that will come up and support against the run, to match up with Amani Hooker. I think that could change the defense a lot. And the run support is important, because look at how many the big runs that this team has given up. That back end, they weren't there to seal the deal. And that's why that 20-yard run became a 60 or 70-yarder. So those are 3 things right there. Punt returners, desperate. A guy like Luther Burden could come in and give you a slot option as well as drop back and return punts. I think that's something. Think about Jimmy Horn, too, from Colorado. Yep. He's another guy I think they might want to look at. The Miami slot guy as well. So there are some options there later that they could go to fill some roles.
Yeah, no, totally agree on those needs. And when you talk about pass rush, TD, absolutely, they need edge help. I love Abdul Carter. I mean, if it got to the point, even if they're not trading down, and they're not doing a quarterback or they're doing a veteran, I think he could be a special player. But also to that point, I did think we'd see a little bit more just based on what he did last year. I mean, he was in the backfield a lot from Tavondre Sweat. How do you evaluate, his rookie season as we enter the last game? And do you think there's more there from him moving forward in terms of being, a little bit more of a quarterback effector?
Yeah, there's more to it. I think as he begins to learn more moves and learn more about leverage and things like that, I think he will be a more impactful pass rusher. But, I mean, I think this year was a good year out of him. And, he erased a lot of question marks, right? Oh, everybody wanted to – what happens. You you have an off the field thing, and all of a sudden you're a bad guy, and he's clearly not a bad guy. That off the field situation has been wiped away. And then you look at, being known for being overweight and a party guy and not taking things seriously. Haven't been any issues from that perspective. Oh, you want to talk about how many snaps he plays? Okay, no problem. He's second on the team in defensive linemen are playing snaps. I think it's around 67% now. So I think those are things that are positives that he's eliminated. Now it's time to build upon that. And I talked to him yesterday. He said he's going to take kind of like a 2-week period to reset. He's going to train with Jeffrey Simmons in the off season. So, he's going to be right from that perspective because his brother, Jeff's brother, is a very good trainer over there at D1 in Brentwood. So you have that. And I think it's going to be a good second year for him.
DD, last thing for you here. We're about to get hot and heavy into, coaching cycles here, and Vrabel's interviewing with the Jets today. There's an interesting piece on him that's come out at The Athletic this morning. I'm just curious, your thoughts on him and this cycle and where you think the best fit could be for Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a culture guy, and he's someone that will come in and make sure that the players and coaches are on the same page, and it's going to be one direction. You have to appreciate that. I think, ideally, I think the Jets are a good situation for him, but he, in my opinion, I don't know what the Raiders are going to do, but if he could get to the Raiders, that would be ideal. And then also, obviously, having a number one pick, if the Patriots want to go ahead and really, turn back the clock and they decide to move on from Mayo, I think he would be ideal there too. So it's crazy. I mentioned two places where the jobs aren't open, but I think those would be the ideal situation.
There you go. TD, great stuff, man. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for taking time to be with us, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, for sure. Happy New Year. Take care.
Yep, Teron Davenport, our guest
TD.
here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll react to what TD had to say. Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Appreciate Teron Davenport for being with us in the last segment. We will have Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30. Preds Pick to Click a little bit later this hour at 8:45. Preds are in action tonight, taking on the Vancouver Canucks. Right now, I got a 4-pack of tickets to give away to Monster Jam at Bridgestone Arena coming up tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Be caller number 5, 615-737-1025. Caller 5 will win a 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam at Bridgestone Arena, taking place tomorrow at 1 o'clock. 615-737-1025. Joe, I thought that TD's answer there kind of sums up where things are with the Titans right now when you're asking about positives moving forward. He said, you know what? There's some stretches I'm about to take here, but let me throw some your way. Took TD a minute to come up with some, and I'm right there with him. You asked me the same question. I don't know that I could have come up with as many as he just did, so I applaud him for it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stretching to find positives with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, it's a fair point. Like, we haven't talked about special teams in a while. I don't think that's probably changing.
Colts back next year, baby. Bring him back.
maybe. That would be one. You know, I think it was the NFL. I think it was Pelissero and NFL.com mentioned, you know, some changes, mentioned special teams. Probably gives you a little bit of an indication of where that's going. But it's true that they have gone from absolute DEFCON 1 to, which is the worst DEFCON, folks, by the way, to, you know, whatever. It's fine. So that is improvement.
It is. It's improvement from the Detroit game, especially.
Will Levis improved this year from the beginning.
Did he?
Well, from the beginning, yeah, when he was trying to like go behind the back, you know.
I don't know. I enjoyed that a lot more. He did say this week. He said this week, he was like, you know, I was really hoping my last pass of the season wasn't going to be a pick six. So glad to have the opportunity to change that this week. And I was like, not so fast, my friend. You could still do that. Like, that's still on the table this Sunday against Houston.
Yeah, what an interesting. So today, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, as Brian Callahan said, he's going to detail what he's going to do with the QBs. Is that right?
I guess so. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. I mean, the 2-quarterback thing in the NFL, it's really hard to do. Like, this idea has been floated out there before, but like, are you just going to like alternate series with those guys? Or are you like, hey, Mason, you're going to get the first quarter, and then Will's going to get the second quarter, and then we're back to you in the third. Like, I mean, just it's really difficult to do. I would rather him just pick a quarterback and just play the quarterback in the game. And if you feel like you need to make a change halfway through the game and get the other guy in there for the rest of it, then knock yourself out, I guess. But I'm really interested to see what his strategy is ultimately going to be here.
It's weird, but I mean, it's also, I mean, it's game 17 of a complete disaster of a season. So, but it's very weird. And yeah, as we talked about before, I don't think that this is a Fank move. I don't think so. I think it's probably do a solid for Will. Will could be back next year type thing, you know. But again, like for me, I never would have switched from him anyway. You're not winning with the other guy. You are getting a little bit better play from the other guy, but ultimately, you know, I just never would have moved off of Levis, but at least he'll get to, and like I said the other day, be interesting to see the response he gets from the crowd. Of course, also be interesting to see how many people will be there to give the response.
There is that. Let me ask you the question I asked TD. Take quarterback out of it, because obviously we're going to spend 4.5 months talking about quarterback moving forward here. The number one area of need that you have to address if you're the Titans this offseason. If they told you heading into the offseason, you're allowed to address one and only one spot on this team that's not quarterback, what spot would that be if you're Joe Rexrode?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go right tackle. I mean, you hope that Cushenberry can come back strong and be good at center, that's very important. If not, that's so I'm looking at both of those spots. You're gonna have to figure it out, ham and egg it at right guard. If you get better on the left side and those guys keep coming, then if you actually fix the other tackle, and so now you feel okay about your tackles, well, the Titans haven't felt okay about their tackles since Taylor Lewan retired. So that's where I'd go. But I'm with TD. I mean, edge is critical. They absolutely have to get the next young, difference-making pass rusher to this defense, and just having that makes everybody else better. And Landry's a pro, and he's tough, and he's come through the ACL repair and all that, but it looks like he's slowing down a little bit, and you just got to address that. You got him slowing down, and you got Arden Key, who should be somebody's third guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think edge is a huge deal. I mean, the tackle and the offensive line in general has been such a big problem around here that I almost feel like you could over address it, you just address it until get so many different options back there that somebody's bound to work at some point. So I think right tackle would definitely be the answer. But having said that, I do think they're approaching critical mass at edge right now. I think Harold Landry has started to go on the downturn, and not that he can't come back and be a good player for you, but is he getting 12 sacks again? Is he getting 13 sacks moving forward? Probably not, would be my guess. So who's that next guy? And I just think when you can affect the quarterback on the defensive side of the ball, which they just really haven't done all year, when you can do that, it changes everything about your defense, right? It changes the entire equation on the defensive side of the ball. So whether that's Abdul Carter or somebody else, I think that's got to be a huge priority for them this offseason. The thing is, even if you trade down, Joe, there's some pretty decent edge options that you're going to have in this draft. We talk about it not being a huge, an overly exciting draft class here. Charles has talked about that with us, of not even just the quarterbacks, but the draft class in general. People are down on. I do think you could have some pretty intriguing options at edge rusher in this draft.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. I mean, Carter is the headliner. There's some other good guys for sure. It looks like that position's better than others in this draft. LD from McMinnville asks, isn't Cushenberry returned somewhere around next November? So I have not seen that officially, but that would be the old way with Achilles. But again, as we've seen just in the last couple of years with Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, the timeline has been accelerated. Now, is that the same for a big guy? Right. I don't know, but the Achilles timeline has been accelerated. At least for some people. So I have not seen officially they're not expecting to. Now, if that's the case, then obviously I think you have to. That's critical to address that, not just with a plan B guy or something. I mean, I think you might need to really, might have to be a priority, and maybe someone who could, someone with the versatility to slide over to guard if and when he does come back.
Yeah. I mean, if he's not able to go until, mid-October, early November, I mean, you're talking about half the season at that point. So that's a big deal. I've not seen a timeline on that. I'm interested when this comes to an end next week, and if there's some sort of availability from someone that's not Brian Callahan over there, is there more clarity on that in terms of what the timeline for Cushenberry could be? Because you're right. If it is going to be we expect him back mid-October, early November, well, that's a pretty big deal in the first half of the season for them next year with center play that has just not been good enough. So, I mean, everybody's going to focus in on the tackles, and I get that. The other thing about this too, Radens is a free agent. Are you trying to get him back in the fold as your right guard, or are you going after a different right guard this offseason too? It could still look like a pretty different offensive line for this group next year.
Yeah, a good, somebody you feel really good about, whether it's a free agent or, maybe middle, a little bit later in the fourth round, whatever, as an interior lineman who could, again, maybe even be, fill in at center, move to right or whatever. You gotta get better all across that line. You gotta have some actual functional depth too. So I know Titans fans get sick of oh my gosh, how many, picks and signings can they devote to this offensive line and still not fix it? But that's the thing. You still have to you have to do it until you actually fix it.
Just go get
It's still what football's about, man. It's still what football's about. It's why the Detroit Lions, are where they are, and the Eagles are where they are, and on and on.
Just go get Cam Scattaboo in like the 4th round. That's what I did in my mock draft that I did yesterday. Still doing
that guy. That's exciting that you're still doing the mock drafts. And also, I'm here for Scattaboo, man. Scattaboo in the NFL is gonna be fun.
It's Dylan Sampson. He's also available. Could have some running backs. Pretty good running back class.
Bring in all the backs. Full house backfield. Why not?
I mean, be better than what we've seen this year. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Pigskin Pick'em coming up next here on Robby and Rexrode. 1025-1063 The Game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is time for Pigskin Pick'em here on Robby and Rexrode. We're getting down to crunch time in the competition. The NFL playoffs right around the corner. College football playoff in full swing. So a locked and loaded competition here that's getting a little tighter. A standings update in the competition. Rexrode and myself both went 3-3 with our locks this past week. Nick Keyser, 1-5, no lock for Keyser, which brings the overall standings. Nick Keyser remains in first, 59-49 overall, 13-5 on his locks, which has been the big separator for Keyser, 72 points. Rexrode, right behind him, 62-46 overall, 9-9 on his locks, 71 points, 1 point back of Nick Keyser. Myself, 57-51, 7-11 on my locks, good for 64 points. The competition is fierce heading into the playoffs, which are right around the corner. We begin with the Texans and the Tennessee Titans in the highly anticipated matchup that we've discussed today on the program. Titans are actually a 1.5 point favorite in this bad boy. Nick Keyser, we begin with you. Who you got in this one?
I got a good feeling that Brian Callahan really needs this win. And I got a feeling that the Titans just somehow, I guess in the freezing rain, get the job done. So give me the Titans this weekend, guys.
Going with the Tennessee Titans minus the 1.5. Joe, I don't think I have to ask, but I will anyway. The Titans and the Texans. Who you got?
Titans lock.
Knew it.
Absolutely guaranteed to finish this year with this huge dub.
Guaranteed. What a show we'll have on Monday if that's the case. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. I have full confidence in the Titans' ability to lose this football game. I know that it would, in some ways, be the most Titans thing ever for them to win this game, but I think they can do it. I think they can finish strong here and get to 3-14 and get that number 2 overall pick. I think it's happening this weekend here for the Tennessee Titans. So I'll go with the Texans plus the 1.5. The Vikings and the Detroit Lions in a winner-take-all matchup on Sunday for the NFC North. The winner wins the division and clinches the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. The Lions are a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Joe Rexrode, who do you have in this Titanic showdown on Sunday night?
Oh, the Vikings are going to roll. This is almost my lock, but we'll just keep it Vikings big.
I think this is going to be an awesome game. I'm very much looking forward to it. Give me the Detroit Lions, inspired by their win last week in San Francisco with their coach playing everybody who mattered in the game and putting them at risk, but them winning anyway. They will carry that forward. It will pay dividends. The Detroit Lions will be the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. Give me the Lions minus the 2.5. Nick Keiser, who you got in this one?
The mighty team will not prevail this weekend. I am very motivated by how Sam Darnold has been playing, so give me the Vikings this weekend and make it my lock. Honestly,
wow.
I'm gonna go ahead and lock down on the biggest NFC game of the year so far.
With the Minnesota Vikings and locking down in the winner-take-all matchup this weekend. By the time our show is on next week, Joe, on Friday for Pigskin Pick'em, this game will have been played. Penn State and Notre Dame in the semifinals in the college football playoff. Notre Dame is a 1.5-point favorite in this one, and I am going with the Irish. I just think they're on a roll right now. I think the 2 best teams in college football are Notre Dame and Ohio State. So give me Notre Dame minus the 1.5 in this matchup. Nick Keiser, who we got in this one?
Nah, I got a feeling about Penn State. I think that they've looked really, really good in the playoff. They've been, calm and collected for the most part. Give me Penn State.
Going with Penn State plus the 1.5. Joe Rexrode, Notre Dame, Penn State.
All right, Robbie, this is 3 for 3 that you have a chance to move up on Nick here. Different from him in all of them. I'm going to be with you on this one. I like Notre Dame.
Going with Notre Dame in the matchup minus the 1.5. 3 individual picks this week. Nick Keiser, we begin with you, your first individual selection.
In an MVP-like manner the last few weeks, Joe Burrow has been quite encouraging. Give me the Bengals minus 1.5 over the Steelers this weekend.
Going with Cincinnati minus 1.5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
Yep, same. First of all, the timing of this matters too. The Ravens play first. Have you seen the Ravens line?
I sure have.
20.
I'm getting to that here in a minute.
Minus 20. Oh my God! But I think the Steelers are going to see the Ravens clinch the division, and the Bengals are still alive to make the playoffs. So that incentive matters too. So give me the Bengals as well.
The Baltimore Ravens, as Rexrode has pointed out, on the FanDuel Sportsbook, a 19.5-point favorite against the Cleveland Browns, which I believe, Joe, is the biggest line I've ever seen in the NFL. I don't recall one bigger than that. And I'm taking the Ravens anyway. Give me the Ravens minus the 19.5. In some ways, I can't believe that I'm doing this, but I am. I will take Baltimore minus 19.5.
I hope Bailey Zappi crushes that dream.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I'm sure that he hopes that as well. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
Okay, so we got some bowl games today, folks. We've got the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Someone's going to get some delicious mayonnaise poured on their head today. Minnesota, Virginia Tech. Minnesota minus 9.5. Give me my freaking Hokies to win this game outright. We're going to shut up the Big Ten in Hokie land, and then we're going to absolutely dip some of those turkeys in mayo.
What was the line on that one?
9.5. Hokies getting 9.5.
Wow. Going with Virginia Tech plus the 9.5. Nick Keyser, your second individual selection.
I think the Commanders just absolutely dominate the Cowboys. Give me the Commanders minus 6.5 this weekend.
Well, with the Commanders minus 6.5 against the Dallas Cowboys. In the Bahamas Bowl, which if I did not make the college football playoff would be my goal to end up in every year if I'm one of these teams, give me Liberty minus the 2.5 against Buffalo in the Bahamas Bowl. I'm sure all of you will be watching it this week. Who will be the bigger number? People watching the Bahamas Bowl or people that show up for the Titans and Texans on Sunday? Give me Liberty minus 2.5 against Buffalo and make it my lock. Locking down on the Bahamas Bowl.
Nice.
Joe Rexrode, your
Nice.
final individual selection.
All right. I'm going Bowl 2 again. We've got the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, which is at Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas, a stadium I didn't know existed. It is North Texas against Texas State. Texas State minus 14. Give me North Texas to hang in there and cover that. North Texas plus 14.
Go with North Texas plus 14 in that matchup. Keyser, your final individual pick.
I'm going to go with Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos minus 10.5 over the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Carson Wentz is playing this weekend, right?
He is.
Let's go.
Go with the Broncos minus 10.5 against the Chiefs. I mean, who knows, Joe? Carson Wentz goes out there and plays. Goes out there and plays well. We've gone through some of the veteran quarterback options. That could be another one for the Titans. You could have Carson Wentz in, which I think we'd all love to see that. That'd be good.
Yeah, get on that Wentz wagon. I will say, yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I hate that idea for the Titans, but I kind of feel like Wentz might give the Broncos a little trouble tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it. Interested to see how that plays out. All right, my final one. And Titans fans, you're going to love me if it plays out this way. Plays out this way in my entire competition here. I've got the Titans losing. My other pick, give me the Patriots plus the 2.5 against the Bills. They give me the Patriots to win outright. Josh Allen's going to start. I imagine he's going to be out of the game pretty quickly because it means absolutely nothing for the Buffalo Bills.
One series.
Yeah, like he's going to start, and that's probably going to be it after that. Gerard Mayo, who knows what's going to happen there? You heard TD talk about it earlier this hour. They could try to move on and go try to attract Mike Vrabel. We'll see. But he needs a win. The Patriots are going to win this game. And the Titans, if it all plays out this way, Joe, according to my little pigskin pick'em prediction sheet here, are going to end up with the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, yes, Titans fans have to love you and love the idea. But the very, the absolute worst is that you're right about the Patriots.
And the Titans win.
And then at the same time, it's playing out that the Titans beat the Texans. I mean, can you imagine that?
We
you look
talked
at
about
the scoreboard and you're seeing the Patriots win.
We talked about the Titans just beating Houston, maybe being the most Titans thing ever, like the most imaginable result. But I think you just nailed what that would be. It would be the Titans beating Houston while New England just hangs like 45 on Buffalo and wins the game.
Oh, my God.
Drake May out there throwing for 500 yards. I can see it now.
I'm sorry for laughing, Titans fans, but it's just amazing to think about this possibility. Oh, boy.
I think it's
Hide your eyes.
I think we're going to be in here on Monday morning, and we're going to be talking about the Tennessee Titans with the number 1 overall pick. So I
that
think
would be a lot of fun.
I mean, either way, the show Monday is going to be awesome. You're either going to be talking about a high draft pick and maybe some light at the end of the tunnel for this unbelievable season that we've all had to witness, or Joe, we're going to be talking about a nice dramatic win for the Tennessee Titans, them sliding down to like 5th, 6th, or 7th in the draft order and totally ruining it all. It's going to be a lot of fun on Monday.
Yeah, we'll have no shortage of topics either way.
There's no doubt about that. Pred's Pick to Click is coming up next. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025. If you guess the goal scorer for the Nashville Predators tonight, you want a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We will do that coming up next. We'll give our final thoughts on the Titans and college football heading into the weekend as well. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's time for Preds Picks to click.
And a shot at the score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. It's Pick to Click, now on Robby and Rexrode.
It is time for Preds Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action tonight in Vancouver, taking on the Canucks. Chase McCabe will have your pregame show at 8 o'clock tonight, so looking forward to that. No change in the standings from last time out. Rexrode in first place with 8 correct answers. I am in second with 5. The listeners have 4 correct answers. Nick Keyser at 3. That's where things stand in the competition. With that in mind, let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in, Michael. Michael, good morning. Thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators?
Thank you. I'm going to go with Ryan O'Reilly.
Ryan O'Reilly, the selection. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. So O'Reilly is off the board. Rexrode is up first in the competition. Your pick to click for the Nashville Predators.
All right, well, I'm going to guess, he was on a heater to see if we can get going here. How about Marchessault?
Going with Jonathan Marchessault in the competition. O'Reilly, Marchessault off the board. Nick Keyser, your pick to click.
I tell you what, I'm going to go with a guy that has lacked goal-scoring ability, but I think gets it done tonight. One Prince Philip of Forsberg will get back on the board. He has 1 goal in his, last 22 games or something like that?
I believe 23 now.
Oh, boy. There you go.
Yep. Not very good. A lot of assists, though. Went up the assist. O'Reilly, Marchessault, Forsberg off the board. Give me Vinny Hinostroza. Hinostroza with a goal tonight, Rexro. What do you think of that? Your thoughts, your scouting report on Vinny Hinostroza.
Oh, I love it, man. That's a great one. And there's so much you can do with that name,
I agree. And I could have gone Ozzy Weisblatt. Looks like he's going to get in there tonight. LaRue gets suspended for 3 games, which is about what I thought it would be. So he's going to be out 3 games. Weisblatt coming up. But I'm going Hinostroza. Led the Admirals in scoring, led the entire American Hockey League in scoring before he was recalled. He'll get 1 tonight.
If you get this right, man, you might be turning the corner. I thought LaRue might just get a game.
I'm not surprised by the 3. Like the slew foot part of it, I think they take pretty seriously. And when I knew that when it was going to be a hearing, I figured that they'd probably throw a pretty good book at him. So 3 is about what I thought. I'm not surprised by it. I know some Predators fans are upset by it, but that's kind of what I expected heading into it. And look, the bottom line is Spurgeon's hurt. We'll see how long he's out. You can debate the intent. I don't personally believe that LaRue was intending to slew foot him and throw him into the wall, but that's the way it happened. And when that happens, It doesn't really matter what your intent is at that point.
His reputation did precede him a bit into the league too.
Yep. No doubt about that. Joe, final thoughts on where things stand on the football front heading into this weekend. We'll get into the Titans part of it just a second, but your thoughts quickly on the Final 4 in the college football playoff: Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Texas. What do you make of where we've landed here in the semifinals?
Well, it's wild that, of course, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. The 4 teams that hosted but did not get buys. The teams that got buys all lost. I'm excited for the games for sure. I think Notre Dame, Penn State is an absolute just line them up, and a very good teams in the trenches. I think Penn State's quarterback. I think Penn State may have the best quarterback left in the field, which is interesting to think about. But I think Drew Aller is the best pro prospect of the 4 for sure. So does he make a couple big throws to swing that game? And then the other side, I think Ohio State certainly has the best team. They look absolutely unbelievable. How much does it matter for Texas to be playing at the Cotton Bowl? And how much of a de facto home game will it be for Texas? Yeah,
it's a good question. And is anybody going to be able to come within the same stratosphere of covering Jeremiah Smith? Because if not, they're just going to roll to a national title here, right? Texas has had a good defense all year long. Can they approach breathing on Jeremiah Smith, which nobody else has been able to this point?
Right, and that's another thing. You look at these teams, it's a cliche, but I think Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas, those are 3 of the – and Penn State's is a very good defense too, but those 3 are 3 of the top 4 or 5 defenses in the country, and those are the teams that are still standing.
So what you're saying is get you defense travels.
Defense
baby.
wins championships.
Defense wins
is what I'm saying.
championships.
That's right.
And then, Quinn Ewers can go out there and play for Texas, try to win a national title, and then he can quarterback the Alabama Crimson Tide next year, or maybe Notre Dame. We'll see.
Yeah. And then Arch Manning will just automatically be the number one pick because his name's Arch Manning.
Joe, do you have any thoughts at all on the actual football game this weekend that the Titans are about to play in? What are you looking for in this game? Like what intrigues you about watching this game other than counting people in the stands?
Well, as weird as the QB thing is, I mean, it does make it a little more interesting, right? Like, what is he going to do here? I find the game more intriguing because Will Levis is playing at all. Because I'm just not remotely intrigued to watch Mason Rudolph play quarterback anymore. But look, I think the Titans are going to play. I think those guys are going to play with everything that they've got to try to win this game because that's what players do. You can just take your tank and stick it where the sun don't shine, And so it's going to be really interesting. And then we know, like, the Titans could certainly get the 2 and maybe even the 1 in the scenario you played out. So then, like, how does Amy Adams-Strunk watch this game as much as she hates the Houston Texans, but also knows that her franchise could really use that shot in the arm?
Well, at least they'll look good. I mean, they got these jerseys coming up. Like I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of, like, the Titans' actual jerseys. I like the old ones better. Maybe that makes me a boomer. I don't know. But this one, big fan of. If they switch to these permanently, I'd be cool with it. Even with the Oilers logo and there's the Titans, yeah. I don't care. No,
these are some of the best uniforms in NFL history. But it's also like, man, gosh, this is not it's such a fantastic uniform day and probably not going to be quite the atmosphere day to match the uniform day. But maybe a bunch of people will, the thing is, if the weather isn't like terrible and it's like you can at least sit there and it's dry, I could see a lot of people being like, shoot, $5, okay, let's go. Why not?
Could be a raucous environment on Sunday.
You never know.
Are the Titans fans going to show up like wanting them to lose so much that they're going to be like making noise while the Titans have the ball? Are they going to be like just in total opposition of their team, just silent when Houston has the ball, and when the Titans have the ball, they're just screaming, Titans have to go on silent count.
Oh my God, I hadn't thought about that. That would be amazing.
Please don't win this game. Please don't do it.
Texter says, your team's in a horrible situation when your fan base wants you to lose. Yeah, this happens though.
Yeah.
They're not the only ones. They're the Patriots fans, the grand Patriots franchise. They're in the same boat. Michael and Madison, I want to throw this at you, Robbie. Do you know the last time the Titans organization actually picked first?
I don't. It hasn't happened since they've been in Nashville. I know that.
Right, because they traded it away in 2016.
Yeah.
According to Michael, I think this sounds right. Earl Campbell, 1978. Now there's a pick.
Is that right?
So I say if they get the first pick this year, you said his name already. The new Earl Campbell, Cam Scattaboo. Let's go.
Just go right off the top. Cam, you're coming in, son. Go and run it back. Be good stuff.
Bring Vrabel back and let's play some 1980s football. Arr.
Hey, interested to see how this goes for Vrabel. We brought up the article by Zach Rosenblatt earlier at the Athletic. I would encourage people to check it out. Pretty interesting. A couple of veiled shots by Vrabel, I think, directed towards Amy Adams-Strunk and the Titans in that piece, but that's probably worth checking out by itself. He is interviewing with the New York Jets today, so who knows? Maybe the next head coach of the New York Jets could be Mike Vrabel. Even though if I was him, that would be near the bottom of my list.
Yeah, you go and you go and shake everybody's hand and tell them that you use Johnson & Johnson Band-Aids and get out of there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody keeps talking about the Raiders. I get it, right? Like, because Brady is going to be a big part of it. It's Vegas. I mean, you're going to have
Kaharski's convinced that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Like, a lot of people are kind of adding up that the Raiders could be the most logical landing spot for him. I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see how he views Chicago. You could view it a couple of ways of, all right, you've got the young quarterback, we think, that you could try to build around. It is also a heck of a division that you're going in and ownership that has been a problem in Chicago. So I'm interested to see how he views that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's going to have, a lot of this piece is interesting in terms of he got a lot of questions about getting along with people
Yeah.
and being right and all that stuff. And so he's obviously on the kind of a campaign to tell people, hey, I can actually work with people. He's gonna get an offer. He's gonna get a job. He's gonna be somewhere, and our enjoyment of the NFL will increase because of it.
It will. Keezer's done some research here. They've got 3 number 1 overall picks, 78, 73, and 65. Been a long time since they've had a number 1 overall pick. Rexrode was only like 35 the last time they had it.
I just started shaving. Like, oh, Campbell, wow.
Joe, is there going to be any resolution on the Mike Matthews front this weekend? Still kind of in limbo when it comes to what that's going to look like for Tennessee, either in the portal, out of the portal, back in Tennessee, gone elsewhere. We're in limbo here.
So, and I know some people have said that he was confused by Nico's post, and that's how it started.
Which is just wild to me.
Which is just
pick
and
up
then
the
it's
phone
like,
and call him.
oh, now that I'm in the portal, wow, look at some of the calls and texts I'm getting and some of the numbers that are, I mean, man, I don't know. Tennessee needs to make this go away. They need to fix this. This would not be good for Tennessee.
No, this would not be good for Tennessee. I will say, though, as much as I largely don't like the transfer portal, it does make things pretty interesting in the offseason when it comes to movement. I mean, I'm still convinced that whenever Texas is done here, Ewers is going somewhere, whether that's Alabama, Notre Dame, wherever. I don't think he's going to the NFL. Of course, I didn't think Jalen Milroe was actually going to go to the NFL either, and then he did. So who knows?
If Milroe can go, yeah, I mean, Ewers may as well too, I guess. But I'm with you. He should stay in college just like Milroe should have.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Titans fans, we're here for you on Monday either way. It's going to be a wild show on Monday, either in celebration of a high draft pick or in total outrage of the Titans winning a game at the most inopportune time of the season. We're here for you on Monday. We look forward to it at 6 a.m. Join us then. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Chasing Big Joe up next. You're on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.